tried for 20 years to get acceptance and validation from my birth father. I was starting to get it from my brother by the time we hit the 90s. We were approaching middle age, and that was a time when all of a sudden my brother announced that he was going to take us both, all of us, me and my father and himself, to Italy, because he said it was time for me to meet the rest of the family. I had never entertained any thoughts of ever going to Italy. So we went there, and I was flabbergasted at how they accepted me unconditionally, virtually immediately. For them, I was blood, I was family, that was all that mattered. But the most emotional part was with my grandfather. He was 84 years old, a peasant farmer who was retired with his pension, and I had brought him an 8.5 by 11 framed photo of myself, just to give him a gift so he could have a photo of me. And about 5 hours after we arrived, after I had relaxed from the jet lag, we went to his house to do the male bonding thing, and all the guys were gonna sit and drink wine and talk. And when we got there, he hooked his arm into mine, and he pulled me into his living room and turned on the light, and there was his hutch, and he had an 8.5 by 11 photo of my brother, and he had an 8.5 by 11 photo of my cousin Maurizio, who lived near him, and my cousin Sergio, who lived near him. And next to that was the 8.5 by 11 photo of me. All of his grandsons were there, and he pointed to each photo, and then he pointed to mine, then he pointed to me, then he pointed back to the photos, and then to me, and he kept pointing back and forth. And even though he couldn't speak English, I knew what he was saying. He was saying, "You're my grandson too." And I was utterly speechless. I thought, here is this little man, my 84-year-old grandpa, my patriarch, and I have known him for 5 hours, and he has completely and totally accepted me. And as I said, I was speechless. I was flabbergasted. I was so emotional. And at that point, all the identity I was looking for, all the acceptance I was looking for was there. It was the greatest gift I have ever received. And from that, my grandpa became my hero. And during that trip, I got to know my family. They treated me like a prince. They had been waiting for nearly 40 years for me. They knew I existed, but they were waiting for me. I walked the 2,700-year-old streets of Ascoli Piceno, where my father lived. I saw the mud and rock house where he was raised. I saw the farm that my grandfather still worked, and I was struck by my heritage. I came from this middle-class, white-bread life in suburban Salem, Oregon, and here I was in Italy, and it was too surreal that this was my heritage. And the relationship I have with my family continues to this day. My family in Italy, I go there once a year, and it's a glorious reunion every time I'm there. We sing. They have a joy for life, and they have given that to me. So everything came full circle.